Hey everyone, this is Carsten and welcome to this tutorial on building a smart home application using Z-Ware. In the last video, we looked at the Z-Ware API and we went through the Z-Ware API structure. In this video, I would like to introduce the Postman functionality of the Z-Ware API. So first of all, Postman is a third-party application that you're going to have running locally on your computer. So you can download Postman if you don't already have it from getpostman.com. I have it running on my computer, and once you have installed it and signed in, it's going to look pretty much like this. With Postman, we're going to work on something called collections. I'll get back to that in a little bit, but for now you can just see I have no collections currently set up. So I would like to get the collection for the Z-Ware API, and the way I do it is that I go back to the Z-Ware API and I simply press run in Postman. So this is gonna ask me if I want to run it on my Mac, and I'll click yes, please do that. So now Postman is gonna download both the environment and the collections. So we can now see here that I have all the Z-Ware API commands like we had on the documentation website. I also now have it here locally in my Postman application. What we can also see is that if we click up here, we can, if we click here actually, we can see that I now have an environment called Raspberry Pi. So this is the environment that we will use it has the parameters that are necessary for the Raspberry Pi. We can actually go in here and we can try and click on the environment, and you can see there is some environment variables here. For instance, the URL is going to be Raspberry Pi.local. The username is Sigma and the password is Sigma Designs. Some of the things we have been talking about before. You guys might have a different setup. You might be running it on something else, or maybe on a different IP. So you can go in here and you can modify these variables. But what will happen is that some of these APIs over here, let's say look into registration login, we can see that it uses this variable here as part of the string. So if you change it up in the environment, then you're also going to change it here. You can also see that the body of this API has a username and it has a password. So this is where the environment, the Raspberry Pi environment, comes into play. Okay, so we want to control our light switch, so we can go back to my UI, close this down, go back to my UI here, and we can see I still have the light switch, which I can control on and off. But we want to do the same thing from the APIs. So I'm going to jump back to Postman. And the first thing I need to do is I need to log in. I need to log in to the Z-Ware portal. And for this, I'm using the register login API. I'm going to send it here and I'm going to get an error. And this is again due to this self-assigned certificate that we have also seen when we use the website that we need to approve. The way you do that in Postman is that you go up here, click on Postman Preferences, and then you select this one to off. Okay, let's try again. So we can see here that when I'm sending this, I get an XML reply over here. We can prettify it a little bit, so we can make it an XML instead, and we can see that we get a login with a value 0. If we just, for the fun of it, jump over to the documentation here, we're going to register login. We can see this is the URL that Postman was sending for us when we press send. This is the data it put in, the username and password. And this is the expected reply that we're gonna get. So this is also what we got, and the status we got was a 0, which means that we were successful in connecting to the Z-Ware portal. Okay. Now, the next thing we need to do is we need to get that node list. Let me jump back again just to show you guys, go back into the introduction. So now we have connected to the network, but we want to get this node list. The way we do that is that we go under network and we use the one Z-Wave net get node list. Okay, so if we send this, we gotta get a lot of information here, and we can just make it a little more pretty by selecting XML. And we can see here that each of the nodes in the network is represented with a block like this. So we have first of all node descriptor 1, we have node descriptor 14, node descriptor 15, and so on. If I jump back to my UI, we can see we have the same. Node ID 1 is the controller, then we have 14, 15, and 16. So the one we want to use is the 15. So we have node descriptor 15. Okay, so I want to get the endpoints for node 15, node descriptor 15. So we're gonna get node endpoint list, and here I need to change the body. Let me see what happens here. Sorry, we're gonna jump down to node and endpoint, and we are gonna get Z-Wave endpoint, Z-Wave node get endpoint list. Sorry, this is the one that we need to use. So it's placed on the node and endpoint, and we're gonna use Z-Wave node get endpoint list. And here we're gonna look at the body, and we need to get the information for node 15. So we're gonna change this value here, and we're gonna send that off. Again, we come back and we make this a bit more pretty. And here we can see that node 15 only has one endpoint, and it has endpoint descriptor 271. So this is the single endpoint we have in this node. Now we want to get the interfaces related to this endpoint here, to 271 is what we need to remember. And we're gonna use Z-Wave endpoint get interface list for 271. So we're gonna come back to the body, we're gonna type 271, and we're gonna send this off. Again, we come back, we make it slightly more pretty. So now we can see here that endpoint 271 has these interfaces, and the interface that we would like to use here is the, see if we can find, command class switch binary. So this is the one that will allow us to turn the switch on and off. We can see that we have a lot of others. Let's say we can get the meter readings from the device. We can get version information from the device. We can get who is the manufacturer, and a lot of other things. But for now, we just want to use the switch binary to turn the switch on and off. So I'm gonna take that interface descriptor for the switch binary. And now we can jump, let me close this off a little bit, make it more pretty. So we will jump to the binary switch interface. And here we first of all need to call this select, which is going to allow us to use the APIs. We come in here and we put in our interface descriptor in here. So that was this number here I just copied over. Gonna send it off, and we're gonna get an empty XML. So that's correct. If we look at documentation, it will tell us that if we were managed to call this select OK, then we're gonna get an empty XML. So the second thing we're gonna do is that we're gonna jump down to the set command, which is the one we want to use. We're gonna copy in the interface descriptor again. And now we can give it a value. And if we jump to the documentation, we can see here that for the binary switch interface switch set, we can use 0 for off and 255 for on. Let me see, it's currently off. So let's see if we send 255, if we can turn it on. See, so we're gonna send this. We gotta get an empty XML, which is correct. And let's see if it has changed to on over here. It has changed to on. So this shows you guys how you can use the Postman application as well to send these different API commands and check the reply without having to do any code. And then when you're ready to start your own development, you can switch between this and the documentation over here to copy in the different snippets for the language that you're using. So that was the quick overview of the Z-Ware APIs. I hope that's enough to get you guys started building fantastic applications based on Z-Ware. Yeah, and see you in the next video.